These are the 2025 editions of Bomberger's Declaration Bourbon and the Shanks Homestead Kentucky Sour Mash Whiskey from the Michter's Legacy Series. Each year these release, and each year it's possible that Michter's can change up the maturation technique, the mash bills, and other details. They don't really say so on the label, but sometimes these can taste a little different year to year. Now, most years, like probably many of you, I prefer the Bombergers, but I think about 2 years ago, I actually liked the Shanks over the Bombergers because it had a really old school butterscotchy type of feel to it. But find out which one you should be on the lookout for. Stay tuned. It's the Mash and Drum. What's up, folks? I'm Jason C. from the Mash and Drum, and welcome back to the show. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if it's your first time here. Appreciate all your support. So a quick background on the Legacy series. Long story short, way back in 1753, Swiss Mennonite farmer John Shenk founded Shank's Distillery, which was later renamed Bomberger's Distillery in the 1800s, before having its name changed once again to Michter's Distillery in the mid-20th century. All right, so first one we're gonna dive into is the Shanks. So the lower proof Shanks Sour Mash Whiskey comes in at 91.2 proof, and it's somewhat similar to previous releases. The 2025 Shanks Homestead Sour Mash Whiskey is made with a good amount of rye. To bring out the rye character a bit more, some of the fully matured whiskey was finished in toasted only French oak barrels that were not charred. So only toasted, not charred whatsoever. Now, the wood was sourced from the Vosges region of France before being naturally air dried and seasoned for 24 months and being toasted to Michter's exacting specifications. This one is non-age stated, and it's rolling out now for an SRP of 110 bucks. Now, full disclosure, Michter's did send me these bottles, so just like to throw that out there, just so you guys know what we're working with here. It doesn't matter, it's not gonna change my opinion. I always appreciate when they send me bottles, but let's dive in and see what we get here. Wow, the first thing that jumps out of the glass is burnt marshmallow. This has, I think the toasted barrels that they use in here immediately jump out on the nose. That burnt sugar, burnt marshmallow type of flavor profile is definitely there. This is just like toffee, Werther's candy, burnt marshmallow. It's very sugary sweet. I do think you get a lot of the wood spice here as well. Maybe a little bit of a fruit characteristic, that could be from the French oak, but the spice and the sugary sweetness is what really jumps out of the glass here. So let's give it a try. First sip is solid. It comes off like a good toasted bourbon. It's not overdone. I don't get any of that weird bitterness that you get sometimes with toasted bourbons. That's really why some toasted products turn me off. I get like that fake aspartame type of note to it. I don't know if you guys get the same thing. Let me know down in the comments if sometimes you guys get that in a toasted product as well. This, I'm not getting it as much. This one is mostly the toasted marshmallow note, some of that burnt brown sugar, and then on top of that, you have a little hint of like a dark fruit characteristic there. So second sip is where the proof makes things a little bit less interesting. It's a little bit thin on the palate. The wood sugars are there. The toasted marshmallow is there. There is a nice little twinge of spice on the back end. Get a little black pepper. I think you get a little like cinnamon red hot candy that just kind of hangs around just a little bit. There's a prickliness to it. I think that it has. Again, French oak will do that. It'll add some spice, a lot of baking spice. Sometimes it adds a little chocolate here, but really not getting chocolate here because I think we're just doing a toast, no char. So really you're getting a lot of like the creme brulee, the toffee, and again, that toasted marshmallow note. Now, the more I'm sipping this, the more the French oak is starting to take over a little bit more. It's becoming less sweet and a little bit more of a spice-driven experience. A little bit more of the oak tannin is setting in. I think off the nose and off the first couple of sips, I'm like, oh man, this is, if it stays like this, it's gonna be quite delicious and one of those crushable, just super candy-like, well, not candy, but sugary sweet type of pours. But as I'm sipping this, the wood sugars and the tannins are starting to take over a little bit more. So it's not completely going bitter, but there is a slight bitterness that I think is offsetting some of that sweetness. Yeah, I mean, this is solid. Man, I do wish that one that they released a couple years ago with all that super heavy butterscotch, that's where I would like to see this one go back to. I'll reserve my closing thoughts for the final breakdown, so let's get into the Bombergers. So the Bomberger's Declaration Bourbon, as usual, is a small batch, 108 proof Kentucky straight bourbon. The 2025 release continues using bourbon aged in chinquapin oak. This year uses barrels where the wood has been naturally air dried and seasoned for different periods of time before undergoing their exacting toast and char specifications. So the spectrum of barrels used have been seasoned for 18 months, 3 years, 4 years, and 5 years to change the chemistry of the oak's contribution during aging. This is also non-age stated, and this one retails for about 120 bucks, so $10 more than the Shanks. I love researching Michter's use of barrel techniques and what they do. I think between them, Buzzard's Roost, and I'm sure there's a lot of different distillers and producers, especially if you're a non-distilling producer, if you're, you know, toying with different things within a barrel to really change up the chemistry and the makeup of a flavor profile that you're trying to aim for. But Michter's seems to always do this within Shanks and Bombergers each and every year. That's why they never really taste the same. If you guys are actually really interested in these each and every year, I always tell people to go to the Michter's website and read about every single release, 2024, 2025. They're pretty good about keeping it updated, but it will tell you exactly what's different about each of these releases because they don't state it on the label. So you always have to pay attention to those details, or you just watch the Mash and Drum. That's why you're here, right? All right, here we go. Let's dive in. Oh, the nose on this is much better. Right, we're going to a darker place here, which I dig. This is nice. This is where the char, the chocolate, it's not cherry. This might bring a little bit of a blackberry here on this one. It's just something darker. There's also something like salty to it. That sounds weird, a little bit. I feel like there's like a saltiness to it. Caramel, chocolate, I mean, the nose is way more enticing on this than the Shanks. All right, let's give it a try. On the palate, it almost gives you a little bit of a pucker up effect. Not that it's, you know, not that it's salty, but there is definitely something that's taking the moisture out of my palate, which it could be the oak tannin, it could be the, you know, the chinquapin oak. Oh, but this has a better texture. I think it is like a blackberry. That's good. Chocolate, berry. There's a slight nuttiness to it as well. This tastes like one of those Cadbury fruit and nut bars. You guys know what I'm talking about, where it's like the purple bar, and I think I've mentioned that in past videos, this specific chocolate bar that I've had growing up, where it's like the purple Cadbury fruit and nut bar. It's got dark fruited, I think there's like raisins in it, and maybe dark cranberries or something, but then there's nuts in it, but it's all, you know, kind of housed in this dark chocolate bar or milk chocolate. But that's what I'm kind of getting here. It's got a nice little spice to it as well. Better texture. Yeah, I'm totally getting almost a peanut buttery type of aspect to it. Yeah, this is definitely hitting a lot different than the Shanks. The Shanks comes off like just a good toasted bourbon, while this one comes off like it almost tastes like it's finished, but obviously this has some different barrels with some different seasoning times that have been put into this to change it up a bit. But this is way more of an interesting whiskey. It's good. And the more I drink this, the more the fruit forward components are coming out. This is really good. Is it like, how good is it? Is it like a bourbon of the year candidate? Anything like that? No, I don't think it's to that level. But between the two, this one is definitely the standout again this year. Most people think that about Bombergers, but yeah, this year I think it really holds true. All right, one last sip here. I do think the oak tannin is taking over a little bit more. It is balancing out the sweetness, but I do think that, again, that maybe whatever you want to call it, whether it's a saltiness, whether it's just the oak tannin that's making things a little bit drier in my palate, I think that's definitely happening here. Be curious if it happens to you guys as well. But before we go to the final breakdown, let's hear the question of the day, and it's a good one. All right, so today's question of the day comes from Michael Dow 5150. He says, top 5 Ozzy and or Black Sabbath song. So we recently lost just an absolute rock and roll god in Ozzy Osbourne. very recently, and I know this question has come up before on my live stream, so here it is. Here's my top 5. Number 5 is Snowblind. One of the first songs I learned how to play on drums was Snowblind, so that one kind of sticks out to me. Number 4, No More Tears. No More Tears is one of those songs that it's a little bit more of a power ballad type of song. Number 3, Iron Man. You gotta love Iron Man. Absolute classic song from Black Sabbath. Number 2, this one might be a surprising one, but it does resonate, and that's Mama, I'm Coming Home. I just love the guitar solo. I love the lyric, just everything about that. I feel like it's like peak Ozzy, just like his voice. Everything just sounds incredible. And number 1, I feel like it has to go to War Pigs. Now, War Pigs is a very popular song. They open their concerts with it. It's one of, if not maybe the only kind of politically driven song that they've done. Just the entire song from beginning to end. You can't beat the intro to that song. Everything about that song is beautiful. So with that, that's my top 5, and cheers. Rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne. All right, final breakdown time. All right, final breakdown on the Michter's Legacy Series for 2025, the Bombergers and the Shanks. So the Shanks is $110, the Bombergers is $120. Secondary market value, I have not seen these yet. Don't normally see these on secondary unless the store that you're buying at marks it up, which is sometimes what happens with these. But for the most part, I feel like you can find these at retail. Availability on these are usually limited. Not sure how available these are nowadays. We get them here in Ohio. I'm not sure what the availability here is outside of that, but for the most part, these are limited. Value here. When it comes to value, when I'm tasting the bottle, I'm gonna put the Shanks as a lower value here, just because there's just not enough going on for me with the low proof. I do like the flavors. If you like toasted bourbons, I feel like you'll like it, but there's not enough of a punch for me to warrant the $110 price point. The Bombergers to me, I think, is more of an even value. At $120, love the flavors here. It's big, it's bold. It's got a lot of different flavors going on for it. So I do think this is more of an even value versus the Shanks. Most I pay for these aren't gonna be anywhere above retail. So if you walk into a store and these are upcharged, just walk right by. If you're a collector and you like buying each and every one of these, that's fine. But if you're a collector and a drinker and you really want these for your collection, but also to sip on them, I still wouldn't pay above retail for them. Alternatives, as far as the Shanks goes, really most good toasted bourbons these days can probably go head to head with the Shanks, especially if it's barrel proof or a higher proof. I do think that this one for 2025 has more toasted bourbon tendencies, toasted bourbon profiles with the marshmallow and a little bit of the toffee, a little bit of that wood spice, but I do think the wood just starts taking over a little bit as you get into it, a little bit more of a drying aspect. As far as the Bombergers, I do think with that nuttiness, I think you could go for a Knob Creek 120, even a Knob Creek 12 year, I think could be a really good alternative for this as well. But there is also a nice degree of mixed flavors to some degree, like the chocolate and the dark berry. I think to that degree, you can maybe look at something from MGP, Ross and Squibb, something along those lines. But I do think that either one of these, you're gonna be able to find some good alternatives for. And last but not least, is this a skip, a try before you buy, or buy and back it up? I wouldn't back up either of these. I would probably skip the Shanks. I think the one that's gonna be a buy is the Bombergers. I think there's a lot of depth here. It's got some really great flavors. Again, if you wanna buy these, if you wanna collect these, but I don't think it's a must-have. This could be also borderline try before you buy. But I do think for those that like, you know, a little bit more of a tannic aspect to their whiskey, they like some dark chocolate, they like some dark fruit, all kind of mixed in together. I think the Bombergers will do really well for you, especially on the palate. Plus, it's a lot more velvety on the palate than the Shanks is. I think as far as the buy goes, the Bombergers is where you want to be at in 2025. All right, guys, well, thanks for watching this episode here on the Master and Drum as we took a look at the Michter's 2025 Legacy Series with the Bombergers and the Shanks. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the subscribe button below. Please hit that like button, and if you haven't yet, find me on Instagram. And let me know down in the comments if you have a question of the day. Remember, just write QOTD, right? QO question of the day. Yeah, QOTD in the bottom. Write your question next to it. I like to try to pile these up. So if you have a good question to ask, it may be featured in an upcoming video. And before we go, I'm actually gonna blend this and see what happens. Let's see how well this does. I tell you what, the nose is fantastic with this blend. Oh man, this just got way more buttery and toffee, and wow, hope it tastes as good as it smells. If anything, just blend them. I'm telling you, this blend works. I'm gonna let that sit overnight, but if that's an indication of a great blend, the Shanks and Bomberger's blend, that could be the move right there. All right, as I always say, it's not about the whiskey, it's the people you share with. Cheers, and I'll see you next time right here on the Mash and Drum. The Shank Burger. The Shank Burger is back for 2025. Hashtag Shank Burger. Let's go.